Sorry, my mic is muted. Hello, 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 hello. It is I, your army VTuber, Ryu Shinden, salaryman by day, Phantom Hero by night, and streamer by night as well, or if my work schedules allow me, hopefully. And welcome yet to another stream. It is a new week, Monday. And since it's Monday, we're gonna go ahead and do Tabletop Mondays. So, how are you? How's your week so far? Start of a new week, start of a new fresh perspective on life, love, and everything else in between. And I hope you had the previous week very good, very productive. Unlike a certain person, which is speaking right now. I hope that your last week is productive, is full of love, full of life, full of hope and courage, most especially. And you can definitely tell me how your week has been. Is your week all right? Is your week not so much not so much happening? Is your week perfectly fine? You can go ahead and tell me more about it as we talk about a lot of things today. We're just gonna do mostly talking because this is basically Tabletop Mondays, and especially today we're gonna be talking about all about tabletop RPGs, tabletop role-playing games, well, a little bit of role-playing games in general, even video games as well, depending on what we may be able to discuss. But primarily this week, this day of the week is all about tabletop role-playing and role-playing in general. You know, D&D, Pathfinder, Fate system, any other systems out there, we kind of talk about it. Although I am someone that is still learning a lot of systems besides D&D. We can definitely talk about it. You can also share some of your insights, experiences, and whatnot. Anything that you learned that you wanted to share with everyone else, as well as me. You can always put it in a chat, and we're gonna talk about it. So basically, today is all about tabletop role playing in general, right? So I got some stories about my what you call it, my D&D sessions last week, because my D&D sessions last week was quite interesting. Just give me one moment. Let me try to lower this one. Let's see if we can lower this at a reasonable position here. Okay, I think this is good. You can almost see me. It seems like that I was only partially visible there. But yeah, today is basically all about tabletop role playing. So whether it's D&D, whether it's Pathfinder, whether it's a Fate system, or whether it's Cyberpunk, which is something that I'm actually kind of interested in learning recently. Any other systems that we may be able to discuss and talk about, you can go ahead and share your experiences, share your knowledge, share advices, or you can even ask questions. I could probably provide you some advices of my own, or maybe even the chat can provide you some advice that me and you can actually learn, or maybe some funny experiences about your D&D sessions, tabletop role-playing sessions, and whatnot. You can always share it there, because I'm gonna actually share some. And you may be thinking, why is my title like that? There is something in my title right now that is quite interesting and quite peculiar, which is the reason why we're gonna talk about a little bit about why am I not streaming D&D games yet in general, right? So I talk a lot about tabletop role-playing games, especially DMing, for dungeon mastering a lot of role playing games, tabletop role playing games, particularly Dungeons and Dragons. But I never really streamed them, nor I haven't really streamed any session yet, whether it's a long campaign or uh, what you call it, a one shot. And I'm gonna actually explain the reason why later. Believe me, it's something that is quite interesting to talk about. That's why I made it as a topic for today. But anyway, if you have like any what you call it, any experiences or uh, statements, whether it's hot takes, what you call it, some educational knowledge, something that you wanted to share about your D&D stories and whatnot, you can go ahead and share it here. Today at Tabletop Mondays, where I give you everyone a platform on telling their D&D stories. Yep. In general, tabletop role-playing game stories. But first, I want to ask you guys, how was your week? We're starting basically a new week, right? And I want to first know about your week. How's your week? Because me, uh, kind of eventful, kind of eventful. Because since we're talking about tabletop role playing, I actually had this rather interesting, uh, interesting experience last week about quickly what you call it, quickly preparing for a Halloween one shot session, which is now a two shot because we actually had to cut it short. We only were able to complete it halfway, and um, we're gonna do the second part of that one shot. Although it is a one shot quest, it it was worth two sessions because of different shenanigans that happened. Which I don't mind. I actually find the Halloween one shot really fun. Both to see my players play and to DM. It's very interesting how they make their decisions and whatnot. Uh, but yeah, it's very interesting because that particular Halloween one shot is something that I did mention my players that we may be doing a Halloween one shot for Halloween, or one shot quest for Halloween that is Halloween themed. But I never really expected to actually prep it like really quick, because honestly, I did say that to my players, but I honestly have like no idea on how to what you call it, how to somehow prep it or somehow start prepping it because I am super torn with different ideas about it, about prepping that one shot. Um, but it took me like a couple more days to realize until I one of my players actually posted a short video on YouTube, on our Discord channel, about a D&D idea about waves of undead monsters that the players have to what you call it, have to survive and fend off with. And through that, I was kind of like, oh, okay, so we can start with this, and then it kind of evolved into something much bigger than I expected, in terms of the themes and whatnot. Because from a basically what happened is, from a zombie survival mission in D&D, it actually started from that into like a full-on Resident Evil style game that is for Halloween, and I was like, all right, this is good. This is so much fun. This will be so much fun to run because I love the Resident Evil series, and speaking of Resident Evil 4, is coming out. They already showcased it a couple of days ago, I think. But anyway, I love the Resident Evil series, and I thought that why not do it in a mansion with still there is still the mechanic of like surviving waves of undead. But besides that, what I did is and for those of you who are playing my campaign, please cover your ears. Cover your ears real quick. So basically, the whole idea is like a Resident Evil style D&D game we're in. You were dropped in a mansion. Okay, so give me a premise so far on what happened during last week, during this weekend, and I think I posted one of them. I posted a a picture right after our session. This is actually right after our session. I posted a picture of our session where we left off. Uh, Let me see if I can grab it real quick. I posted a picture on Twitter. By the way, that's www.twitter.com/RyuShinden. For those of you who don't know, I do have a Twitter account, and you can go ahead and give me a follow there. I post a lot of stuff in there. I do unfrequently post, unlike a lot of people, especially content creators. But I do post nonetheless, at least once a day, at least once a day. But anyway, let me see if I can pull it up. The photo that I let's see, window capture to. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Ooh, that's big. Gonna use Alt. I think you're really, really big. Okay, I think this will be quite enough. Okay, I think. All right, so I think we're this one. Now this is the photo that I posted on Twitter, and this actually has taken right after we ended the session, just like literally right after, like I think an hour after we finished our session. So basically, this is it. This is what we left off so far. So basically, they are adventurers who were, for some reason, dropped by to this mansion. I'm gonna give you the full story later. But what I wanted to do is to actually pull up the map itself. And don't worry, I'll be pulling up the player version of the map, because the map itself actually has like fog of war. That disable the players from seeing further into like what their characters cannot see or haven't discovered yet. But I want to pull up the player version first, so I can show you like what I recollect happened so far with the Halloween one shot. But I really love the Halloween one shot because it's just a relaxed, funny, and even scary version of the the usual D&D sessions that we have, the longer campaigns. This is one of this is one like this one is like just regular D&D rules, roll homebrew, just make your character and plop it in. Just make a level 5 character, that's it. So so yeah, this is where we left off basically. But I want to pull out like a player version of this. Let me see if I can pull it up later. Okay, that's what I've been doing for the past week. And what I mean by doing is basically cramming. I was cramming for like 4 straight hours, prepping the whole thing, and I was like, hope this would work. I hope this would work. So, okay, I think I'll be able to pull up like I'll be able to pull up like let's see if I can actually show it on screen. I'm trying to pull up like what you call it? A Oh, okay. So, can I actually open this on a normal tab though? What I'm trying to do is to pull up the version of the map that the players see, so I can basically show you what happened. Oh, okay. I think I'm able to. Just give me one moment here. Oop, not my. Okay, I think I can pull it up. All right. Okay, just give me one moment. Okay, here we go. Let me move this real quick here. And I'm actually gonna tell you briefly about the virtual tabletop website that I'm using. That I highly, 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 highly recommend for those of you who wanted to play like basically tabletop role playing games like D&D or actually any other systems. That's how robust and versatile the website is when it comes to character sheets, organizing your campaign, and even organizing the whole map itself. Uh, it's very useful and very useful, user friendly in terms of like virtual tabletops. As far as virtual tabletops are concerned, this is the best website. This is the best so far. So, anyway, let me switch up my scene. So there you go. So this is it. This is basically what they have basically co- uh, explored so far. All right. Now, basically, what happened here is just to give you a brief synopsis on what happened during that Halloween one shot. Um, you have these five adventurers that were basically met together in a tavern. I know it's very very classic. You met in a tavern kind of thing. Uh, but you have these group of adventurers who met in a tavern because of a letter that they saw or received, um, offering them some sort of like an opportunity for work. Because basically in the continent where they in, which is a continent from my my homebrew setting, Exaya. Work is a little bit scarce for adventurers like that. Work is a little bit scarce and competitive for adventurers. I know it's really weird, but it all has to do with like the continent and stuff. So it's kind of hard to long to explain. It will take a long time before I finish explaining it. But the whole idea is they met in a tavern, and they because they received a letter, an unsigned letter from someone offering them work. So they went in, they went together, and they met this dude that let me see if I can Wait, just give me one moment. Let me see if I can actually show. Let me see if I can actually show what the dude looks like in terms of like who employed them. Uh, so okay, I think okay, I think I can show it now. Okay, so here you go. All right, awesome. So they were hired by this dude. His name is Sairovan, Sairovan. Um, Basically, they were hired by this dude to retrieve what seems to be an artifact from a structure. And what's weird about it is these adventurers, the ones here, these adventurers. So we have an Aarakocra, we have a Minotaur. I think Titus is human. Azashi is human as well, and Marina is a mermaid or a water genasi that looks like a that looks like a mermaid, but she's a water genasi as according to her. But anyway, they were hired by this guy, and what's weird about it is up front, and I mean up front, even without what you call it, even without doing the quest yet, they were already given like 2,000 gold right then and there as a prepayment for them to retrieve this artifact. They don't know why, they don't know how, they don't know why they need to retrieve that artifact. And as a matter of fact, one of the things that did not happen during the session is them actually asking this guy why they would need to what you call it, why they would need to retrieve the artifact. Why would they need to try to retrieve it? That's the first thing that they didn't ask, which could actually answer a lot of things. But again, if you are a player in my game, I'm sorry, kind of a spoiler, but I'm not gonna. Oh, of course, I'm not gonna tell why. But I was kind of expecting them to actually ask the guy why would they need to retrieve this artifact? What's so special about this artifact and whatnot? But they didn't, and they were just they were actually suspicious in this guy with this individual. They were actually really suspicious. But for some reason, they this guy was invited into like, okay, go ahead and read me. Go ahead and discern me further. I welcome you to discern me further. And they learned that it seems like that this is the type of guy that doesn't hide anything and does not have the need, at least currently, to hide anything. They don't like sense anything that he's hiding or he's not telling the group. But the group are still nervous, and I said to them like, you do feel still, definitely you will still feel like suspicions around him. Suspicions around him are like still a feeling that you have. But the weird thing here is whatever suspicions that you have right now, you feel also it's baseless. It's like it doesn't make sense. You do feel suspicion towards him, but It doesn't make sense why you are suspicious of him. And as a matter of fact, he feels like a person that doesn't have anything to hide, yet you feel still suspicious or uneasy around this man. So there was, I was like, the one thing that I did is I made them roll a insight check whenever they feel suspicious. Like, you see, insight checks are like checks that most of the time players would initiate themselves. Insight check is the kind of like a skill check that most of the time, at least from my experience, most of the time it's the players that would initiate an action that warrants that roll, the insight check. But this time, I mentioned what I did is I made them roll an insight check without any like without them telling me that, hey, I wanted to check on this person or what they think or what are they hiding something. I said like straight up, make me an insight check as soon as I feel like a character has some sort of a suspicion towards their employer. I made them roll an insight check preemptively. So it's kind of interesting. The I wouldn't really spoil anything. I wouldn't really say anything further. But from the looks of it, it seems, from what I remember during that time, one of the players said that, um, what you call it. So there is a statement that one player made that made me, okay, that is quite an interesting take or an interesting observation. Um, oh yeah, I remember. One of my players mentioned that, is this guy maybe charming us or something? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Would you like to find out? And they kind of like hand waving, sure, whatever. We're gonna go ahead and do the job. Especially the fact that they got 2,000 gold right then and there. And after that, they were offered that once they get the job done, they would be offered 16,000 gold. Like, that's right, 16,000 gold for their troubles, which is something that is super duper expensive and super duper ostentatious for someone that just wanted to retrieve something. But then, curiosity strikes more than suspicion, and this is $1,600, $1,600 that we're wasting away, that we're about to get. And I was like, and they were like, cool, shall we go ahead then? No questions asked. They went into a carriage where they were brought in a spot like it's almost near to the structure that they needed to explore, which is this mansion, this basically this structure right here, the one that you're seeing right now. But they were dropped on a location near it, and they were asked to have to walk it all the way for them to get to the structure. That is the point that they needed to be like dropped off or whatnot. So they obliged, and as soon as they walk, they were consumed by the fog or by the mist, and all of a sudden, they realized that they are now lying on the floor, and all of them are like splayed over here, over on this um, non-functional fountain right here, and they don't have any clothes on. I'm sorry, they don't have their equipment on. They don't have their sword or their shield or their armor or their other equipment and belongings. They don't have any. All they have are their clothes, and that's it. And even the clothes doesn't have like any, what you call it, any pockets. So they were stripped out of their belongings. They only have the most basic of clothes. Some of them were able to like keep their like some of their belongings. Like for example, uh, Titus here, he still have his glasses, and Azashi here still have his mask. So that's all they have. Aside from that, they were stripped of everything else in terms of like their belongings and such. So uh, they woke up here. They woke up on this part of the structure, which seems to be a fountain, and they don't know what to do at first. I told them that they were like in a what seems to be, well, not really a park, but a resting spot rather. And they saw like different passages or paths that they can take, and they explored. And the thing is, they made the sin at the first minute. They already made a sin that should never that not any party should not do. They already made a sin from the first uh what you call it, uh the first minute of the session, and it's to split the party, and they did split the party. It's like, okay, all right, all right. I recognize this spot. Yeah, you recognize this spot. This is your basically what we did last time. I was just sharing what we did last time. And as you might have noticed, one of my players is on the chat. So I'm gonna have to make sure I'm not mentioning anything about spoilers and whatnot. But anyway, hello Static, how are you? Thank you for dropping by the stream. So, what you call it? Anyway, where was I? Anyway, so they try to explore the the vicinity by taking different paths, and as I mentioned, uh, they split the party was split into two. Um, Fuse and Mokorok here. So Fuse and Mokorok came together because they were like animal buddies or something. Because they were animal buddies, they decided to venture forth onto this path, while the rest to this path, where the rest of the group ventured this path, where they saw a structure here, what seems to be a dragon's head, and two muscle bearded men holding hammers. Now, what happened is, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and reenact it using their tokens. Okay, so Marina, Titus, Asashi, and Asashi went this way, and Makarok and Fuse went this way. Okay, so what happened is, access. But anyway, what happened is, these three ventured here, and what they did is they went to this spot. Now, as soon as they went to this spot, they felt like a divot on the ground, or one of the spots on the ground, like always suddenly sunk, like a few inches. Suddenly sunk. Uh, and it was on two places, one over here and one over here and one over here. Okay, and all of a sudden these two dudes, these two statue dudes, um, swing their hammer down. So that's basically the first introduction in with the trap in the game. So Titus and Marina, from what I remember, were able to dodge away, but Asashi was not able to, and I think he took half of his hit points. The damage, how much the damage is like half of his hit points. So it was really, really a hard blow with the trap. So Marina, I think she was a bard, so she was able to heal Asashi right here. And they continue to investigate this dragon statue right here. Now, meanwhile, these two, the animal people, as they called, Fuse and Mokarok, they went over here and went onto this spot. So far, nothing happened. They spotted this doorway right here, where the big guy is standing. But this dude is not in the map yet. He actually showed himself towards the end of the session. But they went here. They saw this doorway that has a like some sort of a paper on it, paper taped on the door, and they they took note of the door. Mokrok was like apprehensive because the paper, a piece of paper was taped over the seams of the door near the door handle, and they were like, "Oh no, we don't want to bother. We don't want to like disturb that. Maybe it's the seal. It's a seal to seal something in the house or the structure or whatnot." So they went their merry way and explored further the outskirts. Now they came across this well right here, and these two statues of gargoyles. And what Mukrak did is he dipped his head onto the well to see if there's water on it. But all of a sudden, both of his horns were grabbed by this lady. Okay, let me take the death by what seems to be a ghost lady. His horn was grabbed and it was being pulled in. Luckily, he made the strength check. He successfully rolled a strength check. Infuse actually helped, so they were able to pull out the ghost from the well, and that's the first encounter that they made. Upon hearing the wailing scream of the ghost right here, the rest actually heard it, and they started to go through this direction and confronted the ghost as well. So they fight it, and they were able to defeat the monster, the ghost lady right here. And from what I remember, they were able to get like the double black flip. I think you were talking about like the how you stepped over the trap. You tried to backflip instead. But anyway, they were able to like beat the monster. I beat the ghost lady and whatnot. So they were like discussing. They were, what you call it? They were further exploring the thing. They tried to peer over this window because one of the shots that Fuse made with her with their slingshot, the pebble bounced and broken one of the windows. So Tidus was able to like peer inside. So this is part of the what you call it. This is part of the house, the inside house that where they were able to see. By God, I love the fog of war system in this website. But anyway, Fuse and Mukuruk again wanted to like explore basically the round trip to the structure. They saw this guy just standing there, and they as soon as they saw this, the guy would just Mr. X style like boop, 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 boop. I was actually trying to make like uh sound effects of his steps, like heavy footsteps, and I was just like that as they were panicking. They were panicking. They went into the house. All of them went into the house. Like everyone was in a panic. Just went inside. While the big dude was actually coming for them, and they were able to shut the door. And now the big dude was not able to get in the house in the meantime, as he's just standing there. And that's where we ended, basically. That's where we ended the session, because I was like having some commitments back then that I needed to do, so I was not able to like complete session or extend the session even further. I already extended it for like an hour or so, but uh, I was like, we will have to do this some other time, and this one shot may be now a two shot or a two parter. We will have to continue this at some other time next week, because I have some appointments in in errands like this coming weekend, so I'm not able to run D&D games uh, for this weekend. So we will have to pick it up on the next weekend. And this is where they left. This is where they stopped. And basically that's it. That's where we ended it. They're now inside the structure, and they actually, I mean, they need to go inside because it seems like that the artifact is inside the structure, and they would now have to explore the structure itself, which is what seems to be a mansion of some sort, from an outside view of it, because they were able to like get an outside perspective on what the house looks like. uh it does look like some sort of a mansion, so that's why they were able to see the structure and discern that it is a mansion. So yeah, they are starting here, and they now need to venture further into the 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 mansion, and that's where we left off. And I was like so happy that they were able to, you know, enjoy the session, because I enjoyed it too, and it's a lot of fun, because it's like something different from what we usually play on the longer campaigns. And yeah, we kind of actually also ended the longer campaign in the meantime with a rather concerning cliffhanger. Let's just say that they blew up a ship. They blew up a ship that they're sailing on, or uh, traveling on, blew up. So, and I haven't really told them yet what happens next, or what will happen next, which we will deal in the next session. But that's basically what happened to the longer session that we have, the long campaign. And right now, this is the what we're playing. In the meantime, the Hollywood, I'm sorry, Hollywood, Halloween one shot. This is what we're playing basically right now. And take note, this is not the whole house. There's just not the whole map. This is the part of the map that they have ventured so far. Because I'm pretty sure someone is in the chat that is that's playing my game right now, and I don't want to spoil it. Okay, I'm pretty sure one of them. Oh, hey, no, hello, how are you? Uh, Hollywood, yeah, Halloween. Do I get? Do I gotta do Napa? Ghost Napa, the producer Arc Napa. That's what happened to him, right? He 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 turned into like a Hollywood producer. I'm gonna make you a star. And hello, also hello, Doc No. How are you? How are you, man? How's the tooth situation? From what I last heard, that's I think that's your problem last time about the tooth. But yeah, how are you, man? How's your week? And thank you so much for watching, dropping by. But anyway, yeah, that's basically what happened so far. Obviously, I'm not gonna show the whole map because the players, one of the players is here, and I don't want to spoil it. I'm going good, just relaxing and watching the sunrise. Currently 5 a.m. here. Oh yeah, Australia. It's like 2+ hours. 2 hours ahead. Uh, in the Philippines, it's still 3 o'clock here. Still relatively early. But yeah, I'm glad you're doing good. I'm glad you're doing awesome. But anyway, for those of you who just like tuned in, uh we're basically just doing the tabletop Mondays. We're just talking about everything tabletop role playing, D&D, or any other systems and whatnot. Uh, Sharing some stories and whatnot. I stayed up last night with my brother after introducing him to Dragon Ball Z. Wow. I'm not gonna ask how old your brother is, but I'm pretty sure he'll be weirded out by Dragon Ball at first. It's kind of fascinating though. Whenever you introduce someone to a franchise like Dragon Ball Z, uh, because it's a different thing when you introduce someone, let's say to an anime that you really like. Uh, but most of the time, you would introduce them to an anime that you really like, but most of the time that anime is something that is not as as uh as popular as Dragon Ball Z or One Piece. It's kind of fascinating whenever I hear people saying that I introduced my blah blah blah. I introduced my mom, my dad, my brother, or I introduced my close friend uh, to this kind of anime like Dragon Ball Z, which is very popular. I'm pretty sure that your brother, what you call it, your brother would have seen Dragon Ball Z one way or another. You know, it is quite impossible to think that your brother has not seen Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball or any Dragon Ball related stuff really um one way or another. It's I think it's kind of impossible to think of that if that's the case. So it's really fascinating for someone to introduce to a super popular franchise like Dragon Ball Z, because you're pretty much sure that they have seen that kind of thing one way or another, most of the time probably not intentionally, but yeah. His first anime I introduced him to him was One Punch Man, just to give him a taste. Oh, okay, that's actually a very good one to introduce. One Punch Man. Uh, One Punch Man is that kind of anime. There are those kinds of anime that you can introduce to people even if they don't watch anime. Like, this anime is just incidentally is an anime, just incidentally. But in terms of like story, premise, the characters, the world, something like that. Um, there are these kinds of shows, or especially animes, that a lot of people would be interested or resonate with, but it's just that they are in anime. It is an anime, it's just incidentally they're on in their anime, but that doesn't mean they're like bad, or in a certain way, or presented in a certain way, or needs to be consumed in a certain way. um but there are animes like One Punch Man that even if someone doesn't watch anime, if you tell them like the premise of what the anime is, just the premise, and I would dare that to say that even if you don't tell them that it is anime, just tell them it's a show. You know, people would be interested still. People that don't even want don't even watch anime would be interested because of how the premise is very very interesting to even non-anime watchers. There are just those anime, and I believe those are the kind of anime that are really worth it to watch. You know, because for me, I would recommend anime mostly to anime fans or people that watch anime. I would recommend to them anime if I know they watch anime. But if I don't know if they watch anime, if I'm pretty sure that they don't watch anime, I would recommend them anime that has a premise that would hook them as a watcher. I just told him that a superhero is a superhero show, but the Superman is unknown to the world and kind of bored because how overpowered he is. So he's a normal dude with a superhero costume who can punch hard. That's One Punch Man. That's basically One Punch Man. And even through that premise, uh, you'd be able to like lure in even people that even a person that doesn't want anime at all, and even a person who even dislikes anime at all. Because believe me, I know people personally. I know people that do not watch anime because they hate it. They just they just hate anime. Period. And sadly, it's because of a lot of prejudice and a lot of misconception of what anime is, and how they view anime as something that only kids watch or only weird people watch, and something like that. It's something that is not mature. It is something that could not be mature, provocative, uh, and interesting. And honestly, I know a lot of people in my personal life, in my outside this, that are like that. That's why I only recommend anime to people that I know deep in my heart that watches anime and wouldn't mind watching anime. If they don't watch anime, I would recommend them shows. And I would recommend them shows that are just incidentally anime, and there's far few between them. We could go on and on what anime are those, but yeah, but basically, from the way that you presented it, no, that is something that could hook even a non-anime fan, and that's what I love about shows like One Punch Man. Even the manga itself. The reason why the manga itself still is good, even though the drawing is not, because let's face it, the creator of the One Punch Man manga, that's his alias. One cannot draw for shit. Okay, he cannot draw for shit. So what he does, like he just draws. He even draws through his cell phone. I remember. He only uses like this web manga maker app to draw his manga, and he doesn't draw great, nor doesn't draw good. What he lacks on artistic skills, though, is what he thrives in, the story, and that is why One Punch Man is so good, because even though his drawing is shit, the premise itself carries greatly to how, you know, how it presents itself, how the premise presents itself, how the characters behave, and whatnot. After watching One Punch Man and Mob Psycho 100, I want to see how he would go with longer series, since he kept wanting more. Only problem is when I divided between Naruto and DBZ, but ultimately I chose DBZ because it has less episodes than Naruto. And it's also just better in DB Super IMO. It's okay if you have biases. I think what's great about Dragon Ball Z, what's actually great about Dragon Ball Z is the fact that uh, it is very digestible. Again, I'm talking about anime, kinds of anime that even a non-anime viewer can consume. Ironically, one of them is Dragon Ball Z, because it's just, let's face it, Dragon Ball Z's story isn't that compelling. Isn't that like deep, really? Let's face it, Dragon Ball Z is like the epitome of a power fantasy manga or anime series that doesn't really have a deep and compelling story, and it worked like that through the years, and that basically how it thrived. It basically how it thrived over the years. That's why it's very famous, because it's something that let's face it, and I'm not talking bad about Dragon Ball Z here, or maybe I am, but it's not an anime that has like a deep philosophical compelling story. It's not. It's absolutely not. And that's what's good about it. It's highly consumable, it's highly digestible. It doesn't really require you to think a lot when watching it. So it's like a very, very good like starter set uh, to someone that doesn't watch anime at all, or even someone that hates anime in some cases. But in terms of like, if you wanted to introduce them to something that is a bit more compelling, a bit more interesting, even if they don't watch anime at all, yeah, One Punch Man and Mob Psycho 100 are super great choices. It's super great, and I still believe, and I still subscribe to this like belief for many, 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 many years now, that the reason why people are apprehensive of watching anime is because of a lot of anime shows that has the stereotypes caked in or baked into the to everything it is, that are ironically the ones that actually are popular. Not not because it's out of like malice or whatnot. I'm pretty sure that a lot of people would a lot of people would be willing to like give anime a chance. But for me, a lot of people are prejudiced about anime because of anime itself and how their prejudices about anime are the ones that are actually prolific. You know, and I'm talking about like a lot of non-anime watchers or not people that are not fan of anime that think that all anime has these big bulging eyes, small nose, and rounded face and whatnot, which it is. And exactly that's the reason why they don't want to watch anime, or kept them from like being from made them apprehensive basically. But what should happen is a lot of people should recommend people who don't watch anime. A lot of people should recommend shows or anime series that they can watch, not because it is an anime, but because it's incidentally an anime. And there's a lot of shows out there that has super interesting premise. A lot of manga even out there have super interesting premise. It's just that incidentally they are delivered or they are presented in anime or manga form. That doesn't mean that it diminishes their value. And I think it's up to us who watches anime and knows what a good anime is. It's up to us to like introduce them to shows not because it's an anime, but because it has like compelling story in it and has compelling characters and a very interesting premise and whatnot. So yeah, that's my anime rant. Anime rant on Tabletop Mondays. Shit. But anyway, yeah, that's that. Where was I? So yeah, that's basically what happened on this Halloween one shot so far. As I was explaining earlier, and I also told earlier that it may be next week until I will be able to run D&D games again, because of commitments primarily, that we are experiencing outside of life. So outside of this. So yeah, I will be able to. She's got a date? No, I don't have a date. I don't have a date. Actually, yeah, technically I do have. Now that I think about it, technically I do have. Yeah, I do have a date with myself and my workmates because it's basically like uh one of the commitments that I have for this week. Okay, I'm not gonna go into details, but one of the commitments that I have is going to a buffet, like the team building or such, with my workmates. So you can consider it as a date, but I don't have like a date. I wish. I wish I do. I'm a person too. I'm a human too. I wish I have one, but I'm the kind of person that doesn't really look around, at least in the meantime, or it's not really desperate to look for one rather. So yeah, that's that. So where was I? Okay. So do you have like any questions about like tabletop role playing games? Any experiences you wanted to share? You can go ahead and post it through chat. And maybe we can read it. Maybe we can have some input. Maybe you have like some questions about advices and whatnot. You can go ahead and ask. Okay, now speaking of experiences, speaking of the tabletop Mondays, you might also have see here on the title that I want to talk about something, which is why I am not streaming my private D&D games, and why am I not streaming yet D&D games. Although I talk a lot about D&D and tabletop role-playing games, but I do not stream myself running games. At least in the meantime. At least in the meantime. It's because he's finding a reason to kill me off first. Isn't that what I usually do? Isn't that like my basically my role as a DM is to kill people is to kill players like you. Just kidding. Just kidding. It's not that. It's not that. Do you really want me to kill your character, huh? Do you really want to? Are you really asking for it, huh? You're really asking for it. But anyway, there are several reasons that I want to talk about it on stream. Um, and maybe we can like segue about live play D&D shows and what they call or live play tabletop RPG shows, because it's not only D&D that is being played, uh, by people who like make videos of it or streams it and whatnot. Um, there are other systems like Vampire the Masquerade, Call of Cthulhu, and whatnot. There are also like groups or people that stream other systems as well. But we're gonna talk about me personally why I haven't really been streaming or haven't really set up my stream to have like D&D streams that I run yet. At at least yet. Um, because it has a lot to do about those groups or those channels, whether it's Twitch or YouTube or whatnot, that streams their D&D sessions or streams their D&D games. It's a lot to do about that actually, and also a little bit how to do about my players as well, the current ones that I have, which is some of them are here. If you send a monster that can kill Archeon, I will definitely be able to kill everyone else. It will definitely be able to kill everyone else. True, exactly. Your Arcane is super optimized. It's not as much as I'm trying to find ways to kill you. It's a matter of you haven't been in a situation yet where you would face something or someone that can actually kill Archeon. And I can not provide you exact information, but I can I have a list of almost, let me check my notes here. So give me one moment. But basically I have a set of characters here that I have. A set of characters and NPCs and even creatures in Exia in my setting that will be able to surely kill Archeon. No, not a Tarask. Not a Tarask. You wanna know? You wanna know something about Exia's setting? You wanna know something about Exia's setting that I haven't really told you guys yet? Uh, in Exia, Tarask doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in Exia. I don't have a Tarask in Exia. And there's a big reason for that. There's a big reason why. But I don't have a Tarask. But again, as I mentioned, I have at least 15 from my latest count. At least 15 creatures and NPCs that can definitely kill Archeon. Not because they're high leveled, but because of how naturally inclined they are with making sure that they are efficient as possible with what they do. Equal Dracus demise thing. Kinda related, but no. kind of related, but it's not. That's not it. But yeah, I have here at least 15 creatures and NPCs that can kill your character, no matter how optimized they are. Naturally, because of the way that they are also optimized to kill characters like Archaeon. Um, and I'm speaking about lore and not speaking about like mechanical. The only bits of notes I took from a year ago is relevant somewhat. Yeah, I mean, okay, if you are a player, if you're listening or watching, and if you are a player, um, keep notes all the time. It really really helps. Uh, because sometimes me personally, I would provide like lore here and there that you'll never know if they will be relevant or related to the campaign that you're playing as or not. If you are my player at least. Um, but yeah, the equal Dracus demise is kind of related, but it's not. It's not totally it. But yeah, again, I have like at least 15 creatures and NPCs that can actually kill someone as optimized air quotes as Archaeon is. Um, because they are the kind of creatures that are optimized to kill and destroy um, characters like Archaeon and characters that have tendencies like Archaeon, which is a lot of people. To be fair, it's not fully even fully optimized properly. Well, that's because you're not level 20. I've never used my aura conquest. No, your character is optimized. You just don't use everything because you don't see the need. But I'm pretty sure that you're a kind of player that already considered that. That already considered every situation that you may have to face. Because that's a part of min maxing, right? That's a part of min maxing. Even in other games, even in video games. You see, Static, one of my very, very close friends outside, IRL, although I met him online at first, but one of my very, very, very closest friends. As a matter of fact, I'm his compare. You're Filipino, you know it. I'm his compare to his daughter's, baptism. Um, he is a very super obsessed with numbers in charts, in Excel sheets of meta and min maxing on whatever games he's playing. You know, he would he would spout out so much data and so much information about the builds that he made, the plans that he will make on a particular build. What is the optimized way of this, the optimized way of that? He's not exactly nerdy, but he's actually, as a matter of fact, like more. I'm more nerdy than him, but his playstyle is always going towards min maxing because from what I remember, he mentioned to me that's where his satisfaction comes from, to be able to actually like put everything that he planned into motion and it actually works. Whenever he see it, it works. Whenever he see his theory works, um, that's where his enjoyment of a game lies. Because he would spend a lot of time planning, postulating, hypothesize, doing hypotheticals on how to like approach this game in a more optimized way, on a more how to do builds. Um, he done that in a lot of games to the point that The game that he is obsessed right now is Genshin Impact, and the funny thing about it is he hates Genshin Impact before because it's all about anime girls and whatnot. Although he loves anime, he doesn't like the stereotypical anime girl moe or whatnot. He doesn't like that. Now, after a couple of months of playing it, he is now obsessed. He is now literally making charts, making Excel sheets that he literally showed me one of the Excel sheets that he made about how to play Genshin Impact more optimally, like the optimal. Uh, I'm sorry, I'm not really familiar with how Genshin Impact like the gameplay works. I don't have really that much experience. I did play it once, never play it again because I kind of didn't, I'm not. It's not my cup of tea. Um, but from what I understand from all of this like ranting about optimizing and min-maxing stuff, he has like sheets and charts, Excel sheets, computations, like literal formulas and whatnot. Most optimal way to play is gacha. Even that, he optimizes the hell out of it. He optimizes the hell out of it because he budgets his. I think he budgets his like to the point that he budgets his like salary to get like the maximum amount of I guess roles. Again, I don't personally I don't play gacha games personally because I believe that if you pay for a game, you should be able to play it fully. You know, I do get the appeal of gacha games. I do get the appeal of it, but for me, if I paid for a game, I should be able to play it at full like content. Even if the game is for free, I don't want it to like force me to pay to be able to enjoy it fully. Even if the game is for free, if it is for free and it does that. No matter how I like the mechanics, how I like uh the gameplay and whatnot, I will not play it because I'm not the kind of person that gambles essentially. I don't like gambling. I don't gamble. I don't know how to gamble because I don't like the idea of not assuring my way to victory. You know, going totally relying totally on the on luck. I should be able to like if there is a luck based game, I should be able to somehow influence it to my favor. But the thing is, a lot of gacha games right now, it kind of influences your. The only way that you really kind of influence the roles is what banner do you choose at what percentage, you know. But anyway, I don't play gacha. But anyway, um, I have this friend that is so obsessed with numbers and data, and optimizing and min maxing everything. So I kind of understand the types of players like you, Static, because I do have friends like that, and he himself actually gave me some good pointers on how to kind of deal with players like him, um, development wise. Because I did ask him at one point because it's something that I needed to learn, which is how to deal with different types of players if I am gonna, you know, run D&D games. I just noticed that we are kind of dropping quality. Uh, for anyone that is watching, are we dropping in quality? Am I really, really blurry right now? Or can you hear me? Because I noticed that my bitrate here is plummeting. Again, I haven't really done it. You're good. Okay. All right. Cool. I got the red I got a red something on my OBS earlier, and we're plummeting frame. We're plummeting in bitrate. But anyway, going back, I kinda, and this is also goes for dungeon masters that are having a hard time, um, dealing with players that are min maxing, which is honestly, it's not really. It, there's nothing wrong with min maxing and optimizing characters. I kind of said it to someone else hours ago. A certain someone um that was asking me earlier for some help in terms of like testing their system when it comes to dungeon mastering or not. Um, they were asking me earlier if I'm free, and I was like, I'm sorry, I will be so much busy. I will be extremely busy, so I don't know when I can commit. But I'll let you know. Uh, but essentially, they were kind of asking or getting some advice on how to deal with with optimizers or power players, and I was like, and I'm not pretty sure if this will be a good advice and whatnot. Again, I'm not a super duper omega progress expert when it comes to D&D, but I will share what I know. I will share what I know, especially for newer dungeon masters or newer DMs. One of the things that I told them about how basically the things that they are doing wrong is I said that if you are having issues with a power player, or if you're having issues with a min maxing player, that would be very, very detriment on your overall learning to be a dungeon master or game master in general. Um, because guess what? I'll tell you a secret. I mentioned to know. I'll tell you a secret. Almost all of your players will be power players. Almost all of your players would be min maxers. Almost all of your players would be optimizers. Wanna know why? That is because that is why they're playing D&D. That's why they're playing tabletop role playing games. I only know a very, very minority of players that would deliberately nerf their characters so much that it's kind of like detrimental for them for their enjoyment of playing D&D. But there's a lot of reasons some people do that. But a majority, probably almost 80 to 90% of what your players would be optimizers, min maxers, and power players and whatnot. They are not like a specific group. For me, at least for me in my experience, a lot of players would be power gamers or power players. Want to know why? That's because they're playing D&D because they wanted to fulfill a fantasy of them playing as a character. And that character, the last thing that you wanted to do on a character that you're playing is a character that is weak and frail and 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 can be like flicked by someone that is like relatively as strong as them. That is not a way that most players would make their characters. Most players would make a character in such a way that it is still kind of optimized in some fashion. Um, there will be some players that would try to impose penalties, impose some deficits and debilities on their character. But that is something that either the system that they are using are kind of forcing them to do that, or uh, what you call it, It's either it's the system that kind of forces them to do that. So basically, they have no choice, or that is something that it is a temporary deficit in the meantime that they are trying to improve over time as they play. So, for example, if you're, let's say, playing a character that has, like, let's say, low constitution, of course, in every ability score increase that you get, you will put that into constitution, you know, uh, whenever you can, because you, as a player, know for a fact that your character's constitution is so low that it will be detrimental. It will be detrimental for your character, in terms of like how they deal with situations. So that's why, as a player, you can do it two ways. You tend to do it two ways. You either put ability points in there if you can, or or you put basically a feat or a skill, or a trait that would compensate for the loss or the deficit of that ability score. So if you have like low constitution ability scores, let's say in D&D, you as a player would have like both a conscious and unconscious attempt to optimize that kind of deficit that you have in the meantime. That's because the system would literally force you to do it. I have only seen a very, very, very minority of people or players that would deliberately nerf their characters, deliberately make their characters so weak and so unoptimized for several reasons. But one way or another, most players would either unconsciously or subconsciously would optimize their characters whenever they can, even though even sometimes they don't know if they're doing that. Wanna know why? Because I do it as well. I do it as well as a player. Although I am a player, I'm the kind of player that is not a power player and a min-maxer. I'm not all about numbers and optimizations. I'm all about like story and lore and roleplay. That's what my inclinations are as a player. Um, I do sometimes optimize my characters in terms of like stat wise and whatnot, because that basically gives me like an extended time to enjoy my character, at least and an extended as long as it is, possible in terms of how I built the character. So a lot of your players, I feel like I might know this certain someone. Actually, Static, excuse me. I have a feeling that yes, you do know who am I talking about, who I am talking about, and they are asking me recently, and I said like this. This is basically what I'm saying. What I'm sharing right now is basically the thing that I said to them essentially, but I haven't really replied to them yet. But yeah, as I mentioned, most of your players will be power players one way or another. It really depends on the severity. It really depends on the severity of how obsessed they are, I guess, with optimizing their character. There are like a lot of like players that would subconsciously go towards like making sure that their character is optimized, but not in a way that actual min maxers would do. What actual min maxers would do is to deliberately just put everything on planning and building and hypothesizing and even executing sometimes, or even testing out builds in character traits and abilities, combos and whatnot. It's just that the min maxers and the power gamers, the min maxers, they deliberately do that consciously because that's the part of their like playstyle. And they make sure that people knows that that is the part of their playstyle. But for those who for the rest, they will be power players one way or another. It's just that they are not as obvious, as direct as actual power gamers and min maxers are when it comes to how to build their character. So I think the best way to deal with power gamers and min maxers in terms of like how you build encounters for them and whatnot is to face the fact that every single player that you will take on your table as a dungeon master will be in one way or another a power player, because players, again, I mentioned this on the other stream, on the earlier stream. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this, but all that your players care about is their characters and their characters only. They do not care about anything else. They do not care about anything else except their character. And believe me, it is true because I do that as well. I tend to do that as well. There's no shame. There's no shame about it. That is actually just the truth. That is literally the truth. And there's nothing wrong about it. Players only care for their characters, and that should be the thing that should happen. I feel like the reason they're asking about power players is because of me. Um, well, I haven't really asked them about that, but maybe, maybe. But yeah, so I don't really mind. Again, I don't really mind power gamers and min maxers in my games. I don't really mind them. As a matter of fact, I welcome those types of players because it basically helps me to come up with very interesting encounters, very interesting scenarios, um, that would require to use their character in an interesting way, outside of them just hitting hard and whatnot, or taking full or taking damage or making damage and whatnot. It basically lets me have an excuse to come up with all of these interesting scenarios and situations where I would genuinely think that what will this character do based on how the player built that character. If it's who I think it is, then it's definitely actually, you're right. Come on, you're correct. You're correct. And for the I think there are like dungeon masters out there, game masters out there that um kind of don't like, how power gamers and min maxers players would just roll out their campaign and whatnot. And that's the part of it, really. That's the part of it. Although I would admit that you probably are thinking that if there's like a power gamer in your group, that it kind of gives you like discouragement because you think that, oh, my encounters are not that challenging or not that dangerous and whatnot. What am I doing wrong with setting up these encounters and whatnot? uh because my players are just rolling through it. They're just having an easy time to it, and I doubt myself on if I am able to like even provide them like a challenge. I feel like my players are not having fun anymore because they just got it easy. A lot of it is just easy for them because their characters are optimized, and no matter what I do to build an encounter that would give them like a challenge, I feel that I fail because they're just so they're just so strong. And I understand that some dungeon masters would feel like that way, because guess what? That was what I felt first. That was what I felt first when I started DMing. When I started DMing, that's what I felt first. I felt like anything that I do is kind of worthless because uh, the way that, what you call it, the way that the players just steamroll whatever monsters or creatures that I dish to them, and I always feel like I just plop down a master with so much hit points and so much damage, and that's it. I don't give them like a proper challenging encounter. Uh, and I felt that way before. But then I slowly realized that no, I need these kinds of players as well. These kinds of players is what uh, makes me realize, or makes me inspired rather, to provide them with interesting scenario, interesting encounters, and they're a part of like they're a part of the player sphere. So it's not something that should be concerned of. You should be concerned of when it comes to DMA. Embrace that part. Embrace that fact that a lot of your players would be power gamers. A lot of your players would be min maxers because of the love of the character that they are making. Okay, even players that are like just making characters for, let's say, a meat grinder session or a meat grinder campaign. One way or another, they do care about their characters. Uh, Especially the ones that are in long campaigns and are using like just a single character for all of their campaigns and nothing else. Especially for those ones are have the tendency to actually optimize their characters so much because they wanted their characters to survive and reach this pinnacle of infamy with their adventures. Of course, they would think of ways to make their characters stronger and stronger and be ready for any situation that they're being thrown. Um, so yeah, you kind of have to accept it, and as a matter of fact, you kind of need it to be able to interact and play with these kinds of players. Just as important as you should be able to play with players that are more into like role play and story and lore, or those kinds of players that are practically new and don't know what they're doing. Uh, those players that are, what you call it, just there just to try it. All kinds of players. Uh, they are part of the player sphere too. So you kind of have to just accept and deal with the fact that there will be players like that, and finally accept the fact that most of your players will be like that. So yeah, that's it. That's it about. Again, I went on a tangent, a super big tangent about uh, power gamers. That is a fun thing to talk about. That is actually something that I wanted to talk about for quite a while, actually. So anyway, what else? Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and take a super 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 quick break. Just gonna get some water. And once I'm back, I'm gonna be talking about what I put in on the title, which is D&D and streaming. So I'm gonna be right back. Don't go away. Just getting some water and doing a pee pee. Okay, right. Don't go away. Stay there. Okay. All right, and we're back. Just got some water refill here. All right. Um. So next up, okay. Next up, um, what we're gonna talk about next is something that, as you have noticed, I posted or I put it on the title. Something that what you call it? Something that I just thought about recently. And the thing is, as you might have noticed, with all of my branding, all of my schedules, all of my type of streams and stuff, I do continually and constantly say that I am a dungeon master, and I run D&D games primarily and whatnot. But some of you may think that, hey, why is Ryushin then not streaming his D&D games if he is such a D&D nut or is a D&D nerd or tabletop role-playing nerd? Why does he not stream his games? why doesn't he stream D&D games and whatnot? Not like other streamers and whatnot. What is he lying? Is he lying to our faces? This dirty liar lying to our faces? What's going on? Uh, so yeah, you might be asking that. Uh, Not that I I actually got like those kinds of questions, but I just thought recently about that, and I thought that it was a good topic to talk about, because um, it is kinda like related to what is happening right now, basically with the D&D community, even communities from other tabletop role playing games, basically is getting some really big exposure over the years. But this is especially with Dungeons and Dragons, and what's funny about it is it kind of also affected also other tabletop role playing games in general and their popularity, and exposure to people, because of what's happening right now, which is basically a what I may call a proliferation of tabletop RPG life plays, especially with Dungeons and Dragons, and it kind of is related to that. And me personally, I thought that it was a good topic to talk about, I guess, because I also was thinking that some people may ask in the future, or some people may be asking, and they haven't really asked me directly yet, why I am not streaming D&D games that I run, even though I repeatedly say that I am a dungeon master that runs D&D games for around 5 years now. Technically three, technically. Uh, but yeah, I might get some question. I might get that type of question in the future. So I was kind of preemptively answering this, and at the same time, this is a great topic that I wanted to discuss because of my opinions about D&D live play, or D&D streams and whatnot. Um, and how tabletop RPGs like D&D have been like booming and really exploding in terms of popularity, that to the point that they decided to actually like build now a new edition of D&D wherein it's basically player centric, and honestly, so far, and they wanted, the whole idea is to like bring people in to D&D because of like the popularity is soaring right now, through D&D live play and even movies like the upcoming Dungeons and Dragons movie, and even shows like Stranger Things. Um, which is funnily enough, one of my close friends that I ran D&D games with before, his main introduction to D&D, when we started playing, is through Stranger Things, ironically. Um, so yeah, I mean, I thought it was like a good topic to discuss. Both for me to explain why I don't do it, at least in the meantime, and I have a lot of interesting reasons why I don't do it in the meantime. And how shows like Critical Role, Dimension 20, and what you call it, there's the Acquisitions Incorporated, and those shows that have like huge audiences, and huge fans, huge amount of fans. Um, how those shows affected my decision on showing D&D games on my stream. Um, I'm gonna give you a premise, or I'm gonna give like a quick, premise. And this is something that I already said before. And as a matter of fact, I did say it like just earlier, that I have been running and playing and running D&D games for around 5 years. Relatively new, you know, relatively new for a lot of people. I am but a still relatively new in the community. Uh, but I believe that's one of the main reasons I won't be streaming D&D, at least in the meantime. That's one of the main reasons. Um, what I wanted to say is, in terms of groups that are showing D&D on their streams, or even individual people that are showing D&D on their streams, the main idea about them, the main common denominator about them is both the DM and the players are most of the time, and I think this is just me, or this is what I observe at least, most of the time they are either entertainers or somehow connected to the entertainment industry in one way or another, regardless of degree, regardless of like uh, the deep how deep the degree is when it comes to their relations with the entertainment industry one way or another. They are related. um, I believe that private D&D games and D&D games that are streamed or being shown to a lot of people as an audience is very, 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 very different. As a matter of fact, this is something that a lot of people has a misconception, especially newer ones that are just wanted to know what tabletop role playing games are all about, and honestly, they are kind of burned real hard whenever they realize that this is whenever they play D&D, they don't get the proper experience that they expected, or they don't get the complete experience. And this is quite concerning because a lot of people should realize that private D&D games and D&D games that you see on streaming services like Twitch or YouTube, or in a video rather, they're very different from how an actual private D&D sessions go, especially with a lot of players and even dungeon masters, and how they run games is very different, and how these people, these streamers, these groups are playing games on their stream. This very, very different. um the main reason why I don't want to stream D&D games in the meantime, at least, is because I'm trying to hit a lot of checkpoints and a lot of check marks first before I will be able to run D&D games on stream. You know. Now this is irregardless of if I will have an audience or not. Honestly, I do not care. Honestly, I do not care. Uh, it's something that I wanted to do. I wanted to show, how D&D is played. Basically, that's actually one of just my main goals, is just to introduce people to D&D and tabletop role playing games. I don't care about how much of an audience it is, although I will try my best to actually expose it people as much people as possible as I can with the best of my abilities, in terms of like being a content creator, um, on what tabletop role playing games are, which is honestly, for me personally, tabletop role playing games are the greatest games that I've made on earth, because it just allows you to uh, be someone, be completely someone, and it allows you to create stories, weave stories, especially with other people. Um, for me personally, tabletop RPGs are the greatest games that are ever made. Greater than any video games, greater than any games out there, greater than sports and whatnot. Uh, So yeah, the main one, at least one of the main reasons why that I don't want to stream D&D games in the meantime is I'm hitting a lot of check marks when it regards to what a D&D show is, or what a D&D session on stream is. I'm hitting a lot of check marks, a lot, several of them, several. Um, I'm gonna exclude confidence issues because I believe that will be even that'll be always a constant, even if I'm able to stream D&D games in general. That will be a constant. That I will always and will definitely have confidence issues. Um, so I will exclude that on the reasons why. Um, One of the most, I guess, the most heaviest reason why I don't want to stream D&D games in the meantime, although I talk about like always talk about tabletop role playing games in general, is the fact that a D&D game should be entertaining. Um, but that's the issue though. Most of the D&D games that I run are private games with private people that honestly are not entertainers. They are not celebrities. They are not entertainment people. They are not. I think only one of them streams, and even she doesn't stream that frequently, nor doesn't she doesn't have like that much large of an audience. Well, she doesn't care. Um, but a lot of ouch. No, 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 no. I'm not. I do not mean that you're boring. I do not mean that you guys are boring. As a matter of fact, I'm really, I'm so happy whenever I run games with you because there's no nothing of a dull moment. Nothing of a dull moment whenever we play games. Okay. Uh, yeah, I know. But don't get me wrong. You guys are awesome. You guys make me laugh, make me really happy whenever I run games. What I'm talking about is you are not entertainers. You are not uh people who create content. You know, you are not people who are not influencers, nor you probably most of you. I'm not really sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. My players are not inclined or are experts with entertaining other people rather than themselves or their friends. All in all, they're not entertainers. And the thing is, what a D&D game, what makes a D&D game on a stream different from private D&D games is the fact that most of the time, I think probably I should say around 90 to 95% of D&D games that you will watch or that are quite have a large audience, most of them have players that are either entertainers or have connections to the entertainment industry. And I'm not talking about only celebrities. I'm talking about influencers. I'm not talking about content creators. I'm talking about social media darlings, if you will. I'm talking about, in one way or another, people that are related to also those kinds of people. Even though they're not entertainers, they're somehow related in a certain degree. But the general what you call it, the general similarities about all of them, all of those players and even dungeon masters that you see on stream or in a YouTube video or sometimes even in TV is the fact that they are all either entertainers or someone or people that are related to the entertainment industry, which is their main job is to make people not bored. Okay, so that's the main difference between a private D&D game and a D&D game that you see on stream. This is the main reason why that I don't like streaming D&D games yet in the meantime, because I am actually going for that check mark. I wanted it to be, added to my check mark and make and check if I will be able to fulfill it. And actually, one of the biggest problems that I have is myself. The biggest issue with why I don't wanted to stream is because of myself. Again, I am excluding confidence issues right there. I'm excluding confidence issue because more than your players being entertaining, if I decide to actually stream, I guess, more than anything, more than your players being entertaining, the DM or the dungeon master should be the most entertaining of all the group. You want to know why? Because the dungeon master will be the ones who will be talking most of the time. 70 to 80% of the time, it's the dungeon master that is talking. Believe me, I know. And this is something that I also notice about shows that I watch, like Critical Role, Dimension 20, Acquisitions Inc. Most of the time, it's a DM that is the center of like how a session would be entertaining. The players themselves, it's not that they're not important or they're not entertaining. It's just that most of the focus would be on the DM because the DM is the one that is talking most of the time than the players themselves. Because remember, the players are reactionary. They're mostly reactionary. A player that is an instigator most of the time is either not encouraged because of the fact that it disrupts the rhythm of everyone that are reactionary most of the time. That is why an instigator player type is someone that either is a center of attention or whatnot, that is kind of discouraged because it's mostly the dungeon master that will be doing a lot of talking. And the thing is, if there's anyone that is actually should be the most entertaining, it should be the dungeon master. And again, I'm throwing away confidence issues because it's not because I'm not adding in, it's because it's already like a constant and it always will be a constant for me. But I am not in that kind of level yet when it comes to being entertaining, not being able to run the game, but being entertaining. Because a lot of people, a lot of DMs that I watch, again, the common denominator about them is they're all entertaining on their own. They're all interesting on their own. They're all very interesting on their own. Not because on how they play their game, but because of their personality. Maybe I'm just kind of hard to myself. But I believe that I am not in that kind of level yet, that I believe I'll be able to pull off an entertaining entertaining D&D stream as a dungeon master, especially due to the fact that if there's anyone in the table that will get the most of attention from an audience on a D&D game, it will be the dungeon master, because the dungeon master talks all the time and will talk a lot of times. And this is also the reason why the type of players that you have also is very, very important if you are streaming a D&D game. The type of players that you have in terms of how they're able to role play and improv, because that is also one factor on what makes a D&D streaming channel popular, or game on stream popular and really enjoyable, is the player's ability to improv, which is, hate to break it to you, I hate to burst your bubble, but most of the time in your private games, most of the time your players would be either too shy or not too, proactive when it comes to improv or even roleplay sometimes. Or again, they're not celebrities. They're not entertainers that are literally trained as a profession, how to make people laugh or how to make people cry or how to make people feel a certain emotion. Because again, that's also why shows like Critical Role is so popular. Uh, you wanna know? You wanna know a funny thing? I don't watch Critical Role anymore. I used to watch a lot of Campaign One and Campaign Two, but I never watch it anymore. Especially the fact that I started like actually taking dungeon mastering a little bit more seriously. I don't watch them anymore due to the fact that now I'm now more exposed on how private D&D games are actually played, and realize that these kinds of shows are just for entertainment, really for entertainment. They may be playing D&D, but most of these shows, their main focus is to make their audience entertained, because that's what makes it worthwhile. So that's why one of my considerations on whether I will stream D&D or not is how much entertaining my players are on stream. Not how much they're good with D&D, not how much they are experts in D&D, how much they are entertaining. So that will take me some time to actually do. That will take me some time to actually search, and this is the reason why I don't stream my private D&D games. Because it's not my players are boring. It's not that my players are not entertaining. As a matter of fact, that's the most entertaining players that I had for years now. I perfectly understand the truth that they are not entertainers. They're entertaining to me, but not everyone is me. So if I put them on stream, you know, it wouldn't really make a difference, uh because it's not that they are boring. It's just that they don't really have like the proper experience to entertain other people, especially a large audience. So that's why I don't stream D&D games right now with my players. So another thing about one of my other reasons why I don't stream D&D games in the meantime is uh because I wanted to be able to create like a campaign wherein I am comfortable that I'll be able to show a lot of people what the campaign is about, that would appeal to every type of audience. Not every type of D&D player, but every type of audience. Um, I did write campaigns. I am, as a matter of fact, running a long campaign right now, one that I wrote, but that is optimized for players on a private table. That doesn't consider how entertaining they are, how they're able to entertain other people, how good they are with improvisation or comedy or drama or role play or making a character or playing a character or act like the character, it doesn't like consider that. What it doesn't consider that. What it considers is you'll be able to play D&D, and if you wanted to, excuse me, if you wanted to play D&D in general, that's it. But if I stream a game, if I stream a D&D game, not only I need to consider how what kind of players that I'll be getting based on their ability to uh, entertain an audience. It's also would rely on my skills as a DM on writing a campaign that would be interesting for a lot of people as an audience. Because again, that is also one of the main factors that I notice about groups that are streaming or making videos about their D&D games is the fact that they are they are the kind of players that can entertain a crowd or that can entertain an audience because they're either have been doing it for a long time or trained to do it or naturally just gifted to do it and the ability of the DM to write a story of a campaign that is very interesting as well, because even if the players are very what you call it are very entertaining, if the DM itself themselves are not entertaining and what they wrote is not entertaining, you will get a lot of people that will bash you for that, especially the ones that have been playing D&D. Uh, so yeah, it's both ways actually. And this is also again the thing that I notice about popular D&D shows is the fact that it is not only relying on the player's ability to entertain people, it also relies on the campaign and the story itself to be riveting, to be interesting, and whatnot. This is if you wanted to do like just a dungeon crawl and whatnot. It is perfectly fine, but a lot of people would not resonate on it, especially those ones that haven't really played tabletop roleplay games before. I've seen this happen with Critical Role mostly. Because Critical Role, honestly, it's all about story and character interactions rather than encounters. As a matter of fact, I would admit when I was watching Critical Role during that time, I would skip out the battles. I would skip out the battles and just watch the story unfold with them role playing and whatnot. Uh, so yeah, there'll be those will be some factors. Those are the factors that I notice about larger D&D chat channels. So again, I am basically like what you call it. I'm basically just covering my bases in the meantime on before I even start streaming D&D. Uh, Mostly what I'll be doing in the meantime is just talking about tabletop role playing games, learning about them, giving some advice and whatnot if someone asks. But in terms of streaming D&D, not in the meantime and not for a long while until I can like have every base covered in terms of like not only be able to run D&D game, but be able to run an entertaining D&D game, because we're talking about a game here that will be seen by a lot of people. It's not the type of game that I run privately and only me and my players would be able to know what's happening or be experience what's happening. Which is honestly kind of what makes the private game special, is the fact that we are the only ones experiencing it. I may talk about it, talk my experiences about it, but it is something that is very special because we are the only ones who is experiencing it. It's a very unique and special moment. But in terms of like streaming it, it would take me a while. It would honestly take me a while because of a lot of considerations. And I think this is also great if to pick lessons from when it comes to if you wanted to like if you are a dungeon master and are thinking of streaming D&D games. I'm speaking about this in the perspective of a viewer and not a dungeon master. Is you have to literally abandon your style of DMing on a private game if you're starting to stream D&D games, because a lot of people who don't know about D&D, and honestly a lot of people who don't even care about D&D and they just care about the story, would watch you, and you would need to convince them, or you would need to hook them into watching more, because at the end of the day we are content creators, and you know, even though you're just doing it for fun doesn't mean that you'll be doing it with no one's watching you, basically. Let's all like get facts straight that if you are a content creator, you're doing this for an audience, you know, and you want to have an audience. It's just that it really varies on how much big of an audience you're really like content to. For me, I'm content with like one or two viewers. In the meantime, I understand, you know, I understand that I'm starting out, and I'm starting out with like basically one or two viewers at the start. But let's face it that it's really different from private games, and the things that you know about private D&D games is kind of doesn't matter if you're trying to stream a D&D session on stream for an audience, because it's not only you and your players that you need to consider this time. You also need to consider your audience, which is, I think it's very interesting because it's something that kind of happened almost like a controversy with, I remember Critical Role. I remember Critical Role having some controversy about like something how people play D&D, and how what happened to the games and whatnot. Uh, and what's the funny thing about it is a lot of like people that notice the flaws about shows like Critical Role, or show like Critical Role, is the fact that they are kind of doing D&D wrong according to them. Their fun is wrong, and these people don't know that the cast of Critical Role, the DM and the players are literally entertainers. And yes, they are playing D&D, but that's like an incidental fact. Uh, them playing D&D is just incidental. They are there to entertain people because they realize that they are now gaining an audience. And of course, when they are gaining that audience that literally pays their bills, you wanted to maintain that audience as well. Even though it will somehow remove the essence of what an actual D&D play is in table on a private group. I'm pretty sure that the moment that they decided to show everyone Critical Role on stream is the moment that they have thrown away the chance to go back to those days that they were playing the games at home, someone's home. Because at that point, by deciding to show and stream their D&D games into a wider audience, is the point that they are changing the way that they play, I believe. I'd love to stick around longer, but my brother wants to continue watching the NBA. Goes to school. Hope you see a good stream, man. Hey, thank you so much, Doc Don. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really do appreciate it. That's okay. That's perfectly fine. Have a good one. And regards to your brother. But anyway, that's with Critical Role. The time that the point that they decided to, hey, let's stream our games. is the point that they are like throwing away any notion that they will be able to play the same game as if they were playing it on a private D&D session. Um, to the point that they literally had to like convert everything from Pathfinder to D&D because D&D is more popular. Uh, Not that I'm saying that what they did was wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm absolutely not saying that. I'm just saying that uh, whatever they're playing right now is not private D&D. This is a show essentially that they're playing right now. This is a show that they are putting up on an audience. It's not that it's scripted. It's still D&D. It's still like improv and everything. But they already have like a changed perspective and a changed approach on how they play D&D because every decision that they make, every decision that they make with their characters now on involves on how they'll be able to make it more interesting for the audience and not for them. You know, again, I'm nothing against Critical Role. I'm nothing against whatever they do and whatever they decide to do and whatever approach they do with their show and how they play D&D. I have nothing against that. As a matter of fact, I did enjoy their campaigns. But you'll slowly realize that since they have an audience, they would have to satisfy that audience, and that would in turn would possibly, I'm not saying that it is true, but possibly, in my perspective, would also kinda affect possibly every decision that they make as a character. Uh, because now they wouldn't like go for the mundane. They wouldn't go for like the boring choices. They want to go with an interesting choice because not because it's interesting for them or maybe it's interesting for them, but also at the same time it will be interesting for people to talk about and to stay tuned to or and to discuss about. So that's why what you see on D&D streams is quite different really with private D&D games because with private D&D games there will be stretches of like 10 or 20 minutes with of players absolutely not doing anything else or absolutely doing like mundane things. Want to know why? Because we don't have the pressure of an audience looking at us and saying, "Hey, that's boring. Today, that's I'm bored. That is boring. Do something. Do something, Pog." Which is ironically, I want to talk about this with. I actually want to talk about this in another stream. But is for example, I am enjoying GTA roleplay right now. GTA 5 roleplay. There are people, especially streamers, that their main content is like role playing a character on GTA, Grand Theft Auto 5. Um, and I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them are streamers, and they literally have their content centered around their character. To the point they're only even playing just this one character, not because they like to play the character, but because it brings them money and it helps them maintain their livelihood and give them monetary gain by playing a character that their fans really like, which is again nothing wrong with that, nothing wrong. But it kind of what's interesting about it is it kind of completely informs them about the decisions that they will make, going towards self-preservation most of the time, even if in the detriment of not being able to create like a compelling, interesting story about their character or people around them or other characters around them, only because it would risk their character either dying or maybe getting caught by the police or maybe even permanently dying. Because in GTA roleplay, even if you're like gunned down or shot down, even literally shot to the head, you'll get back. You'll get back because that's the thing. Um, a lot of people, a lot of players would be mad if their character will not be able to be played if they die. Which is again, some servers have it, like hardcore servers have it, wherein if you are playing a character and they died in any way, you literally cannot play that character anymore because they're dead. But in the GTA roleplay servers that I watch and streamers that I watch, whenever they die, they just get back up or get back to the hospital, even if they're literally shot in the head. Because a lot of these players are also streamers as well, and their livelihood basically is depending on their audience that like that character, you know. But it's kind of interesting that some of these streamers, their characters are now influenced by decisions of the player based on preserving preserving their life. Uh, even if it's like their death would create like a very good story, or their demise will get a very good give a very good story, not for only for others, but for the whole server really, and for the whole community, or for even their audience. I only seen a few players that did that. I've only seen like a handful of players that did that. That uh they're willing to sacrifice their characters to get a good story, to get a good story rolling. They would literally sacrifice their characters that they have been playing for so long and been loved by the audience for so long, all because they wanted to get a story out of it. They wanted to get like the best story out of it, and a lot of them would not do that because they wanted to preserve their character, a character that they get like their livelihood from, which is not wrong. It's just that it doesn't it doesn't go in line on what role playing really is, which is just going along the story. And again, going back to like shows like Critical Role, I felt that kind of later on kind of had that. Although there are character deaths, definitely there are character deaths that have been involved recently. What I'm trying to say is, uh, these players, they're not playing on a private table anymore. We're in, well, whatever. Um, they are playing in a table right now where they are being watched as well. And I believe that, I'm not sure if I'm correct with this. Maybe I'm wrong, but I believe that every decision that, well, not really every decision, majority of the decisions that they will make will be based on how much interest it will get from the audience, and not because this is their own decision as a player on a normal D&D game. So yeah, again, going back, it's something that keeps me away from streaming D&D games, at least in the meantime, is the fact that I have to do so much well, not really so much work, but I have to consider a lot of things before I even will be able to stream D&D games. But that doesn't mean I won't do it. As a matter of fact, I'm doing some steps on actually doing that. And one of them is actually finding players that are very interesting, and see if they are willing to play D&D with me running the games. So again, this is not something that I don't consider. It's just something that I won't do in the meantime, and probably for a very long time. Unless I would be able to like uh be able to like put a check on a lot of things be able to do a lot of things first before considering it. And hello, Sunset Cabin. Hello, how are you? Welcome to the stream. Thank you for dropping by. Again, almost at the tail end actually, but welcome, welcome. How it been? How's your week? But anyway, there's that. But again, this is something that I'm working on behind the scenes, and maybe, just maybe, I'll be able to run D&D games in the future, in the near future. Um, I'm seeing it as next year. I'm aiming for next year. Uh, so again, this I might direct people onto this stream and this VOD later, on the VOD later. Um, if they would ask me at some point in why I'm talking a lot about D&D but never stream D&D sessions, and yeah, this is basically the reason why. It's not that I don't want to, it's just that there's a lot of consideration because of how different a private D&D game is to a D&D show is. There's a lot of consideration. There's a lot of like preparation that needs to be done. Okay, right. So that's it. That's actually basically all of it. Actually, it's already almost 3 hours. So yeah, I actually have to dip out. I actually kind of have a lot to do behind the scenes. So I guess we can call it at that. Again, Sunset Cabin, I'm sorry you kind of dropped in at the tail end again, and I'm really really sorry. I'm gonna talk with you on Discord later if I have the chance. But I thank you so much for dropping by and dropping by a message. Uh, but yeah, this, I guess this, we'll call it at that. And again, thank you so much for dropping by. For those who actually chatted and dropped by, thank you so much. Uh, so this is Tabletop Mondays, where we talk about tabletop RPGs and whatnot in general. I know that this is a very very short stream, but I hope that you enjoyed. And I'll be streaming Wednesday this week for. I'm pretty sure we will be continuing Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I'm pretty sure that we'll be doing that, and I'm quite sure that. Oh, I'm. Oh, okay. Um, there might not be a stream on Friday depending on what will happen. I will be very, 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 very busy for the tail end of the week this week. So I'm really sorry about the skipped streams, but definitely on Wednesday we will be having a stream, 2 p.m. EST as usual on Wednesday for continuation, maybe a long play of Castlevania Symphony of the Night. We'll be having maybe around 6 or 7 hours of stream for Castlevania Symphony of the Night because I wanted to finish it. My goal next stream is to finish Symphony of the Night in one sitting this time. Just finished it. Not really necessarily 100% it, but just finish it normally on the real ending because last time we got like the bad end, which is something that I don't want to do on stream. But we'll be doing a longer stream of Castlevania Symphony of the Night on Wednesday, and hopefully, just hopefully, we'll be able to finish it on that stream as well. I will try to see if I can do that. Actually, maybe I can do that, but I'll try to see it because I'm not a gamer. I'm not a good gamer. So, join me on Wednesday, 2 p.m. EST for that. So anyway, again, thank you so much for watching the stream, for dropping by, for chatting, just lurking, whatnot. That's perfectly fine. And again, if you don't have, You don't have to, but if you can go ahead and click on the follow button right there in the bottom so you'll be notified whenever I stream. Also, follow my Twitter account. That's twitter.com/Ryushin. Then you'll definitely see frequent updates about whatever I'm doing, exclusive updates, and especially whenever I stream, I also post on Twitter. So go ahead and follow that. Other social media accounts, Instagram, TikTok, um, they will come later. They will be done later. Okay, and I will definitely let you know once that is so. So let's see who we can raid here real quick. Let me see who we can raid. Who's streaming right now? Someone that has low view. So let's see. Okay, let's see who's streaming. Hmm. Just give me one moment. Really, really quick. But again, thank you so much for watching. And well, unfortunately, it's not. Most of the. Unfortunately, most of the VTubers that I wanted to raid are not streaming right now. Let me check really, really quick. Okay, I don't really have anyone to raid right now, but let's leave it at that. Let's leave it at that for now. Maybe we can raid next time. So, anyway, thank you so much for joining in. And again, this is your armored VTuber, salaryman by day, VTuber, and rent a hero by night, or whatever my work schedules allow me. Ryushin then, and always, as always, brave on. Bye bye. Say bye, boing. Say bye bye. Bye bye.